I gotta also ask, look at the boat. What happened with your boat?
Oh, yeah.
That was all of a sudden like, wow, Louis like a tabloid guy. Louis C.K. in his boat.
Just hanging out waiting to be rescued.
I got stuck in the mud.
It's new Black Crowes album.
It was my first day. Yes, it was my first day in the
Stuck in the mud.
I just bought it. And I spent one day on it with some guy who showed me the specifics of the boat. But it's a big fucking boat with 2 engines, and it's really complicated to drive. And I took my girls out on it. And as we were pulling out of the marina, my daughter was like, "How do you know how to do this?"
Oh, shit.
And I was like, "It's not that big a deal." Like, I was defensive with my 10-year-old. It's not that big a deal. I can do this. And we went around Manhattan, and I got in all this shit I had no qualifications to deal with.
That's a crazy waterway, because the currents...
Especially on the east side.
Especially, what do they call that fucking...
It's an actuary. Don't they call it Devil's something?
No, it's like something...
all the water.
Hell's Gate.
Hell's Gate. That's right.
Yeah.
All
right
the water
on the
converges right there.
They should call it Watergate.
Where the rivers kind of split.
The Long Island Sound collides with the Harlem River.
Right. That's it. Yeah. It gets a little dicey over there.
Really
Don't
bad.
say the Harlem River around Anthony today.
No.
I'm all right.
A little sensitive.
It's been a renaissance up there.
Don't say Muddy River.
Moment when we were in that cauldron and we just smashed, like the boat felt like it was coming apart, and my 7-year-old screamed, and her sister held her eyes, like closing them. It was like it was really stressful.
Were you panicking?
It's nervy, but
it was making that smack sound on the water. The bow goes like, bam!
It was really bad.
It's where the Harlem
River meets.
Yeah, the Long Island Sound.
The Long Island Sound, the East
swirls
River,
in such a way
River.
you've never seen before.
Yeah.
It's crazy to go through that area.
You get whirlpools.
Like up by Yankee Stadium?
You know, like a
on the east side.
Not far from Yankee Stadium. Not far from there.
Oh, yeah, well, it is. Yeah, Yankee Stadium's on the east side. It's south
crazy
of there.
to navigate that.
It's just north of Roosevelt Island.
Yeah,
right, correct.
And are you thinking I just want somebody who knows how to do this here right now with me?
Yeah. And then we went up to the Harlem River, which is very, it's
awesome.
like glass.
It's really nice.
And so now we got through it, and we're really happy. And I've got frozen burritos and macaroni and cheese. So we're going to pull over, throw the anchor, and we're going to make lunch. And so I find this little cove, this sweet little cove.
Nice.
And
in Harlem?
There's people in a park next to it, and it's just a nice place. So I pull in there, and the boat just stops moving all of a sudden. And everything starts beeping because the boat is the boat is cooled by water that it's sitting in. So now it's just sucking mud up into this 2-hour-old engines are now packed with mud. And I just shut everything off because I know everything's overheating.
Oh man!
And my daughters go, "What's going on?" And I turned to them and I said, "You need not to ask me any questions for a little while."
Oh shit! Yeah.
And the park ranger calls over to me from the shore, and he says, "You ain't going anywhere. It's low tide. You're going to be stuck there for a long time." And I'm like, no, it's all right. I'm trying not to let my daughters hear this. And I call the Coast Guard or whatever, the Channel 16. I'm like, anybody can tow me out of here. And these cops show up on the boat. And they're like 50 yards away, and they're not going to come anywhere near me.
No.
And they said, yeah, you're going to have to wait till high tide. Yeah, it's around 1 o'clock, and I'm on the radio with the cops, and they go, you're going to have to wait till high tide. And I said, when's that? And they said, maybe midnight tonight.
Oh, no.
Both my daughters start crying right away.
Did you stay the whole time, or did you get out?
You can't. There was no way to get out, because in a few minutes, we were surrounded by mud. And it was like quicksand. Like I put a stick in it, and it just fell into the mud.
Fuck. Were you embarrassed?
Fucking very.
One of the best questions I've ever heard. Quick, salient, succinct.
Oh, man.
I was really embarrassed.
So you were pretty much just like, no more water. Your boat is sitting in muck.
Mud. Yeah.
In mud.
Really
and
gross.
You're waiting for the tide to come back in. Were you afraid that it was just going to be stuck in the mud and
I was afraid
not
of that.
come up?
I was afraid. My daughter was like, what if we like keel over? What if we start tipping over? I'm like, that can't happen. And in my head, I'm like, that could totally happen. And the cops said they would go get us food, because we couldn't cook any of the food now because it needs a generator to run the fucking oven.
How would they get it to you?
Well, that was a big deal, because they went and got us food. The cops. They bought us a whole chicken and some rice. Really nice guys. Then they come back, and now there's a huge expanse of mud between us and them.
And the food.
And they go, we don't know how you're going to get this. They put it in a garbage bag. And I start throwing a line to them, but it's not making it. All these people on the shore, everybody knows who I am now.
Oh, no.
So there's people in the park and the shore who are just on a rail just watching me. And I'm throwing this, I've tied a pot to the rope, and I throw it, and it gets about halfway there, and I'm pull it back, and I'm covered in mud. Because every time the rope comes back, it's totally covered in mud, and I have to get the mud off so it's not heavy. Every time I go to throw it, all the people on the side, half of them are going, well, pull it for you, Louie, you can do it. And then when I miss, they go, oh, man, dude sucks.
It's like playing left field for the Yankees.
Yeah, it's totally the Yankee Stadium crowd. Boo. People booed. People booed.
Wow.
And I couldn't get it, so finally the cops pulled over a guy who was fishing, and they used his rod to throw me a line.
Cast a line.
They cast a weight over me.
Nice.
So you're able to
I tied it
that.
to a rope.
Right.
Oh, shit.
They pulled, and then I had to pull dinner onto the boat. I was so soaked in mud and sweat. Totally.
Then it was chicken mole after that.
That's right. Had your kids calmed down by that point?
They were great. My kids were amazing.
Yeah.
Then what happens at midnight?
We waited and waited. Once in a while, like it started raining a little bit, and I heard from the darkness in the park, some kid go, "Hey, Louis, CK, it's raining out now." This is crazy.
Asshole.
But those guys at the marina where I keep the boat, they're really cool guys, and they sent some young guy, in a boat, and they just dropped him in the water, and he swam to us.
Jesus.
Crazy kid. And he came on board with me and helped me get it out. Once the water came up, we used the bow thruster to shove the boat
Oh, you got a
around.
little bow thruster on there.
Were you feeling it rise as the water's coming? Like, oh, God.
No, the boat wasn't moving because the water was coming up and the boat was just sitting there stuck in the mud. So that's why we used the bow thrusters are above
Shake
the mud.
it loose. Wow.
So we shook the boat around.
Whoa.
And it worked.
And at one point, the tide was starting to go down again, and the guy that was with me said, "It's your call, but we could put it in. We could turn the engines on and put it in reverse and try to get out of here."
What'd you do?
Yeah, it was like Apollo 13 because everything had been off for a long time, and now we're like, he says we have 10 seconds of battery. It was all this stuff.
Yes.
So we fired up and just put it in reverse, and mud just. It was crazy.
We don't have enough lems to get Louis out of the mud.
Any damage to the boat?
Its propeller was my
Little damage.
propeller was bent a little.
2 hours.
But now
Boat
the
was 2
hurricane
hours
threw my boat into a street somewhere.
Are you serious? The hurricane fucking totaled your boat.
I don't know. They said nobody. I was
They
at the
haven't found
marina
it yet?
where they had it. They said all boats came off their blocks because the surge came up under the boats.
Fucking Captain Louis.
And they said all boats were damaged.
I think God is telling you not to have a boat, Lo.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to find another hobby.
What are you going to do next? Go around Somalia? Jesus.
Now, Lou, didn't you have a depth gauge indicator where that would go like meh when you get in shallow water?
Yeah, the mud happens so suddenly. You have to know the waters, and you need to look at your charts.
Right.
You can't just look at the depth finder.
And the tributaries. You have to know them as well.
The depth finder tells you what the depth is directly
under your boat, right?
Yeah.
So
you
you
can tell
you
what's coming.
You'll just go up on it, and then it'll.
If he knew it was coming, he wouldn't be near Harlem. You were just going out there trying to catch Walter, and you and Billy hit the rock on Golden Pond. Where fucking Katharine Hepburn comes out with her fucking head boogieing.
Oh my God! Wow, that is fucked up, Louis.
It was a funny. Well, my girls went through this whole thing with me. As we came into we went down the Hudson River to go home at midnight. And I said to my daughter, we have to come back out on the boat so you can have a positive experience.
Right.
And she said, we just did have a positive experience.
Oh, that's nice.
Plus, they got to stay up late.
Yeah. Well, they don't like staying up late. They're 10 and 7.
Yeah.
They just want to go to sleep.
Is there a downstairs on the
I
boat?
got a 10-year-old. He's like, stares at the TV all night.
Does he?
Yeah,
He's a boy.
I know I can't stop doing Colin.
Yeah.
Stares at the TV all night.
Well,
Can you tell? I don't know if you will. I'll just
what's the
ask
name of your
though.
boat?
Yeah,
Yeah, the name of the boat and how much it cost you that it's now just somewhere.
No.
I know he'll answer one of those.
I know. I don't think it'll do the.
Yeah, the name of the boat was Dogs.
Dogs.
With a G or
I
with
understand
an,
how
with
much
an
it
S or a Z?
It was.
What?
With an S or a Z? I'm not sure what he meant by
You said G first.
Yeah, I did, but I
How many
G-A-W-G-Z.
How many foot?
34 feet.
34.
We know about.
I got a pretty good.
That's a
That's a
fucking
big
2
nut.
meter.
I got a pretty good. idea.
Wow.
That's a big
pretty
nut.
good.
You know, so
That's pretty good. Yeah,
nice
yeah,
boat.
yeah.
So what did you? Why dogs?
Because somebody called me and said they're shipping it right now, and someo's standing there with a spray can.
You got to come up with a name.
Come up with a name now. And I was busy, and I said, dogs.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And that's it.
Works.
And I
Yeah.
forgot I did it, and when I went to take the boat out of Lindenhurst, I'm like, oh, what did I say that?
Yeah, I know. A better name would have been I'm a non-captain cunt. So what do? You pick it up on a trailer hitch, or they ship it to where you want it? I don't know. I don't know how it works.
It was being kept in,
It's a little big for a.
Oh,
it was being kept in Jersey City.
Okay.
Back
And
down
then
a
they-
fucking slip. Yeah. A fucking.
Yeah, you don't.
the Raritan
you don't
River.
launch that.
At the
Come on,
ramp.
son.
You take it down to the local boat ramp at Ashroken and dump it down.
Let's catch
that's
some
not
sunnies. Yeah, some sunnies. The bluegills are all over the place.
Yeah.
Who knows where the bass are, right, kid? Snappers.
Yeah, with your
Let's go get
girlfriend in
some
cutoff
snappies.
shorts pretending to help
Right,
while you're
yeah.
launching it.
You're cranking that.
I
fucking-
know it. Just I'll do it.
Yeah. Wow, that's fucking. That's a pretty big size boat for your first boat.
Yeah, I mean, I've
That
had
ain't bad.
smaller boats.
Oh, you
like
have?
little motorboats and stuff.
Yeah.
I never had a thing like
That
that.
2 engines, you got to fucking
No,
work
it's got
those,
a spinning. It's
work
got
those
radar.
props. Right. That spinny thing is cool as fuck.
everything but a mud detector.
Everything but a competent user. In the hands of an asshole, it's all worthless piece of fiberglass.
But it was in the post, I think. It was funny. That's
Yeah, it was. We
That's
saw
a
the
better-
pictures, and we're like, oh,
Yeah.
no.
It's a better story, though. It's like I had a great trip around Manhattan. Who cares? I
Yeah.
got stuck in the mud. That's a
exactly
great
right.
story, man.
Beach,
I'm really.
fans on the fence like that.
Yelling at you.
That's right.
Seems as though.
Louis C.K., it's starting to rain now. You should have bought a
It was like a
robot
little
ant.
kid, like a
Thanks.
little Puerto Rican kid. Hey, Louis C.K. He didn't know, like somebody told him who that was. It's starting to rain.
Thanks.
Thanks
You
a
should
lot.
rename the boat to Follies.
That's a good one. Jesus.
We got an observation from a guy in Tampa.
Oh, good.
This is going to be pretty good for Louis C.K. It's Jay in Tampa. Jay?
Hey, Hope, I go back to BAB with you, man. Long time listener.
Long fucking time.
nice.
Jesus.
Well, we love you. I just got a question for you. How is it Joey can land a DC-10 and float it down the Hudson and you get fucking stuck?
How does it, Joey?
Oh, Sully, the plane.
Land a plane in the Hudson. Somebody got stuck in the mud.
2 hours in. Excellent observation.
Yeah.
I
Your
don't
phone
think
was
you
fucked up, Jay. Good
appreciate
job,
the complexities of navigating a 34-foot meridian. It's very
Sully
complicated.
landed in the Hudson River. No one died.
That is a great point. He
It
did a better
was.
job with a 737 on the water. He did with a brand new boat. 2 cheese sandwiches.
Why are we happy that his boat's all fucked
Because
up?
It's hilarious
because
when
there's
a
nothing
fucking
funnier.
yacht gets wrecked.
Yeah.
It's
Really?
great.
Well, I don't know why.
What's better than your shitty friend gets a boat and then fucking winds up in the paper because it's in the mud? What's better than that?
Great.
You're shitty
I
friend.
was a little, the only thing that made me anxious about it being in the paper was that I don't want people knowing that I have a fucking
That's true.
boat. But
Yeah.
it
What are you
said,
doing
it said
anymore?
yacht, Louis C.K.
It's on
yacht.
Bloomfield Avenue in Clifton.
And all these people online commented and said, that's not a yacht.
Not a yacht.
And I was like, oh, perfect.
A pleasure craft,
Yes.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a disappointment on Louis C.K.'s boat. Boston Whaler. Lefty thought that he was going to meet Sam Traficante, but long way to go for a fucking Donnie Brasco joke. Hey, so what?
I don't even think you got there yet.
Jimmy.
Dude, I got my yacht. You blow it up. You put the wooden seat on. You go fishing.
Did you take Bob Kelly on the boat?
I took Bob Kelly.
Bob,
out.
Bob talked about it. You know
man.
what, dude? Just me and Louie on the boat, dude. Look at this. What do you think? Just two professionals talking it over. Shithead, you were probably the only one available.
Did you bottom out that time, too, at 1,000 feet of water?
Yeah, you were the fucking 18th person he called.
Bobby, these for you.
How was the trip with Bob Kelly?
I went to the Comedy Cellar, and he was there, and I said, let's go
In
to
a
the...
boat?
Nice.
Oh, we were hoping that you weren't on your boat, and all of a sudden you ran over him, and the propeller hit his back, and he popped up.
Manatee.
Yeah.
He's a man.
He's got the swirly fucking scar on his back.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, it's me. Kind eyes.
I went out on it one night. I took Chris Rock and my manager out on it one night. Chris didn't want to go, and he came anyway. And we went out to the Statue of Liberty, and there was this thing floating in the water. Chris saw it. He said, "What is that?" And it was this big thing, and it was dark. It was night. It was like 1 in the morning.
Oh,
so it looked like a raft from a ship, like a big round raft. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
And I yelled over, "Hey, is anyone in that boat?" And it didn't have any lights or anything. And then we noticed that it was coming towards us, like kind of with some speed. And Chris goes, "Get the fuck away from that thing." Like it was creepy.
What was
So
it?
I backed away from it, and I put a light on it, and it looked like a giant manhole cover sticking out of the river. This was the weirdest night of fucking ever. And it's right by the
Nautical mystery.
Yeah, right by the Statue of Liberty. It's like, I don't know, 20 feet across, and it's moving. It's propelling through water.
Are you sure it was moving, or it didn't just look like
it was leaving a wake?
Wow.
What the fuck?
So
Submarine.
I call up
Well, if the river.
Channel 16. I go, "Is anyone monitoring this channel?" There's something, because the Staten Island ferry was very close to there, and I thought it could easily sink any ferry. I would have sunk if I had hit it.
Yeah.
Really? Had you backed away from it by the time you called in?
Yeah. And so I called in, and then this woman came on. This is New York Harbor Coast Guard. Give me your home number. I mean, your phone number if you have a phone. So I give her my number, and this guy calls, and he says, "What are you seeing?" And I describe it, and he goes, "Describe it as well as you can." And my manager, I said, "What does that look like?" He goes, "I'm really sorry, but it looks like a submarine." It looks like the top of like the hatch of a submarine. So I go, "I don't want to cause a problem, but it looks like the hatch of a submarine." And it's headed towards Lower Manhattan. Like that's what I'm seeing, and I'm sure it's not that. But my main concern is it's not lit, and it could cream anything that hits. It's going down. And the guy goes, "All right, well, I'll call a boat and send them to you." So he hangs up, and like 20 minutes later, there's nobody there. And I call him back, and we have the light on it, and I have this weird feeling like, is it going to shoot at us? Like, what is this thing? Like, we were really freaking out.
Fucking starts coming at you.
Yes. Chris Rock fell asleep. Like, he's just like, you guys are idiots, and he went to sleep.
You're
wearing
white people
life
shit.
vests?
That's white people
No.
shit.
You don't wear life vests on your boat?
No, I don't usually. The
You
kids
go
do.
Observe water safety.
What are you, fucking Quint? Never put on a life jacket again.
Take a bat to the radio.
Submarine in the water. Our submarine.
So anyway, I call back, and they're not sending anybody. And at one point I got crazy, and I was like, I said, what do you do if you are the Coast Guard? And I am saying to you now, there's a submarine attacking Lower Manhattan.
This is This is like Jimmy's story with the bus, only on the water.
Yes.
When you
very
called
similar.
for the stolen bus.
It's like, why wouldn't, if that did happen, someone would see it and call in? And they're like, we're trying to get park police over here. I'm like, send a fucking helicopter.
We know about it, Mr. CK. How do you know my name? How do you know my name?
Right.
They knew exactly what this thing was.
Oh, wow.
And he kept
away
asking
from
me to hover. We kept hovering around it and stuff. And then finally this big police boat comes and shines like a massive light on it. And then he hails me on the radio. "Hey, Captain, are you the one who reported this?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "It's a mooring ball. It's been there since 1965. Just a fucking... And I go, "I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry I wasted your time."
You didn't know? You've never seen a bunch of moorings dancing.
No.
I know. That was delicious. Well, that's all right. You thought it was Sean Connery defecting. How are you supposed to know?
Mooring ball. Big iron fucking floating.
It's on a chain.
Yeah, I guess people tie up to it.
Yeah, and I'm like,
big
what
ships.
if you don't see it? And everybody, the guy most people navigating those waters know what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
That's why.
It's probably marked on a chart that there's a mooring ball there.
Well, when you were off to the side getting away from it, because you initially said it was coming towards you, leaving away.
It looks like it was going towards me because it's on a chain to the bottom.
Yeah.
So when current takes it, it looks like it's moving. It's not just drifting or bobbing.
I was going to say, it must have, like, just the river moving, the current.
I have no business being on the water because, because it looks like it's moving in one direction to me because I'm fucking moving. So it's making like a circle. And I keep moving around it, and I'm going, holy shit!
Where the fuck are we?
Towards...
Jeez, we're really moving far away.
There's a giant thing coming out of the water. That's the Statue of Liberty, you idiot.
There's like a floating sea from another planet. That's Manhattan. That's New York City.
It's Atlantis.
I'm sorry.
I found Atlantis. I said that I thought Anthony would have said it.
That's fucking funny, man.
I love your boat story.
They're fucking great. There's no one that shouldn't have a boat fucking more than Louis.
It's fun. It's fun as shit, to be honest.
Would you have sunk if you hit that, though? That would have killed you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would have hit it if I hadn't stopped at the Statue of Liberty to show it off to Chris and them.
Well, why don't they have a light on a mooring ball?
Because everybody, and that's actually out in the open New York Harbor, I'm the only idiot in the whole New York Harbor. I'm the only asshole. It has some tape on it, some reflective tape. They said it, you know. But yeah, they don't expect
submarines put reflective tape on their
They do. They like to be seen at night.
I'm sure if you don't trip when you're coming off stage on the submarine. We'll put some electrical tape down so you can see it when you're coming off on the steps.
Tape down the cable.
I'm sure if you looked at where you were and looked at a chart, it would probably be there.
Probably.
Like mooring ball.
It's an old mooring ball
625.
And if a big tanker wants to sit there, it hooks
then they just, instead of dropping an anchor.
Is that because it's too? This way it prevents it from going to the shallower water to get close. It can do it in the deep water.
Yeah, it's simpler. Mooring balls are so you don't have to throw an anchor down.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass.
Hook up to it and you're there.
How heavy is a fucking mooring ball that it can keep a ship in place? What's it latch into the water with?
But it's
how big was
chains? Big chains.
Well,
how does it float?
A safety pin.
What?
How could it be that heavy and float?
Yeah.
Well, like a ship, like an aircraft carrier's pretty heavy.
It's a big hollow ball.
It has buoyancy.
Full of air.
Buoyancy.
And at the bottom, it's a giant fucking
It's really
anchor
hard to push air down to the underwater.
Yes, very hard.
Yeah, air is difficult.
Yeah,
that's a great fucking story.
That is fantastic.
2 horrible boat stories.
And you stayed there. You stayed there.
Like an hour.
Waiting
look at it, man.
to find out what it was. It for safety purposes for other people, or to find out what it was.
No, I was concerned about somebody wrecking into it.
Really? Yeah.
I wanted to. I didn't want to be doing it. I wanted to go home, but
you probably thought it was terrorism.
You're the boat shit they give you to read.
Yeah.
You're responsible for everybody out there.
Yeah. Were you like running through a fantasy in your head of Louis C.K. Fucking terrorists thwarted by comic Louis C.K.
You know what's great? All Anthony said was Louis C.K. and we all burst out laughing. We all knew the text.
He's just daydreaming like,
everybody's going to know now that I'm really a captain.
Homeland Security.
But instead, the headline reads, in quotes, comic arrested for pranking police department.
Comic, local comic.
Yeah, you thought that there was going to be good, cool. You saw something and you said something. Good job.
That's it.
Local comic, known for playing Grandpa's comedy club in Yonkers.
Comes across a piece of hardware that's been there since the World's Fair.
Yes. Just call the police. We're being attacked by a giant bowling ball. It's a big circle and it's just hanging out there for 51 years.
That's fantastic.
Finally, somebody caught it.
God, that's fucking great, man.